Everyone, my name is Nanapu Sirisha. I am studying in 4th semester in Computer Science and Engineering, Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering. Today our subject is Microcontroller. In this, we study about the introduction of loop. Loop is used to repeat the block of code until the specified condition is met. A loop statement allows program to execute has statement or group of statement and multiple times without respecting of the code. It has been large fundamental loops are the fundamental programming concept that allow to repeatedly execute the block of code until the code is false. Next is, what are the loops? Loops are the fundamental control structure in programming that allow a block of code to be executed repeatedly. They provide a way to autonomic and respective tasks and process data in a systematic manner. In this, the loops are the come in the various formats such as loop while doing the do like for loop which won't specify syntax or use case. Mastering loop is the essential of writing efficient and effective program. This is the small example of the what are the loops. In loops, it has the two types. One is entity control loop and second one is exit control loop. In entity control loop, is the test condition is checked before the entering the main body of the loop. It is, for example, for loop can be used and while loop can be used in this entity control loop. Next one is exit control loop. It is the best condition to evaluate at the end of the loop body, and the loop will be executed at least once iterative of the whether the condition is true or false. Do while loop is the exit control loop. Loops with a fixed number of iteration. First is defined iteration count. Loop with a fixed number of iteration execute a block of code a predetermined number of the time with the loop counter incremented after each iteration. Next is predictable behavior. The fixed iteration count make the loop behavioral predictive, allowing developers to previous control the loop, execute and plan accordingly. Third is efficient execution. Loop with a fixed number of iterations are generally efficient as the loop condition only needs to evaluate one behavior the first iteration. Next is, what are the loop? For loop is the programming language that commonly controls structure used in programming. It provides a consequence and efficient way to execute block of code and a fixed number of times. Next is autonomy of for loop. The for loop is a fundamental structural in programming that allow you to execute a block of code fixed number of times. It consists of three key components. First is initialization, next is condition and increment, where initialize as the it will travel through the condition. If the condition is true, it will execute the for loop body, and for loop is executed in increment. Increment is directly going to the condition. If the condition is false, the loop will be terminated. When the condition is true, it will execute the body of the loop. Next is initializing the loop counters, declaring the loop variable, and second one is set the initial value, and third is maintain the counter. Where initialize the first step is initialize the body, where the first step in the for loop declare the loop counter used to track current iteration of the loop. Second one is initial value. The loop counter is typically initialized a starting value of 0 and 1 depending on the logic of the algorithm. Third is maintain the counter. As per the execute, the loop counter is automatically incremented or decrement on each iteration. allowing the loop to process through the discrete iteration. Next is define the loop condition. Loop condition is it will check whether the condition is true or false. If the condition is true, it will continue to execute the program. If the condition is false, the condition will be terminated. Next is increment of the loop counter. Updating the loop counter, and second one is common increment operation, and third is flexibility in integrity. Next is execute of the loop body. How it will execute the loop body? First we have the four steps. First is initialize, second is evaluate, third is execute, and fourth is increment. In the first step, initialize, start the loop counter at 0. It will start from the 0. And second one is evaluate, check the loop condition is true or false. And execute, run the statement inside the loop and it will run, increment the loop counter. Once the loop condition is when the body of the loop is executed, the manual of the statement between the opening and the closing of the brace of the loop. The loop counter variable is the increment and the condition is evaluating again. Conclusion. Repeat the loop. In the presentation, we have exploring the fundamental concept of loop with a fixed number of the iteration. We have learned how to use the loop and repeatedly execute a block of code, and we have taken the cases. Loop allow the automate repeatedly tasks and save the time and effect. Second one is the for loop is powerful control structure of the given process. Third is properly initializing the loop counters. Fourth is loops can be nested and created complex memory programming language and solve the iteration. Thank you.